Hey everybody, David and Evilise here from davidandevilise.com, and David's been catching up on some Civil War info history big time. It's a little bit in with our homeschool curriculum, and so we saw a correlation there. Wanted to share with you.
Yeah, so Civil War, very interesting. I was watching documentary over the weekend and was listening to some of the descriptions of General Grant and General Lee, who have up here on the screen, and it was very interesting because anytime either general got into a difficult situation on the battlefield, either they were outmanned or otherwise, instead of doing the intuitive thing, which is, hey, not to attack or to pull back and hunker down, these two gentlemen always, it seemed, would go on the offensive. Very, very interesting.
And strongly, right?
And very, very strongly. Yeah. So, and I started to think about, wow, especially a guy like General Grant, who graduated from West Point in the middle of his class. He wasn't the top dog at West Point. And then we know he fought in the Mexican-American War. We know that he was away from his wife and family for long periods of time, and he tended to drink when he was lonely or he was bored. And so initially, when the Civil War started, Abraham Lincoln had chosen General George McClellan as the top field commander of the Union Army. And General McClellan, who had great credentials and was seen as more probably being the more successful person, ended up actually frustrating the heck out of Abraham Lincoln because he was so passive and reticent to attack. And Lincoln not only relieved him of his duties once, but he relieved him of his duties twice during the Civil War. And we know Ulysses S. Grant ended up becoming the top field general for the Union. Yeah. and it's fascinating. He was the one that went on the attack, that was aggressive. And General Lee, even though obviously, and here they are, at the surrender, or just right after the surrender, taking a photograph together, even though he eventually lost, General Lee was very successful. His Northern Virginia Army lasted the entire war and only ended up surrendering at the end because he was outnumbered 3-1. So it was just, it would have been suicide for him to continue to fight the Union. But these guys, and especially Grant, we know he went on to be president of the United States. McClellan, on the other hand, he was a candidate opposing Abraham Lincoln in the election of 1864. And it was an election that Lincoln thought for sure he was going to lose because of the difficulty of the war and because he wasn't well liked, and which is another issue that is interesting, that Lincoln took a hard stand, obviously, and was a very principled man, and obviously he ended up being assassinated. But today we most people revere Abraham Lincoln as being one or either the best president we've ever had or the second best president we ever had. And so when I think about online marketing and how that parallels to our success, what we had to do was when we needed to go forward, we actually we actually needed to make big, bold decisions. When the odds were against us, instead of turtling up and getting more conservative, we actually realized that to be successful, we actually needed to go on the offensive when the chips were against us. Mm-hmm. And so for us, that was a really interesting parallel that we saw in when we consider these two great generals.
Oh, that's a lot. But so true. And that's what we did. And so we want to invite you to see what we did and what we're doing and what made a huge change in our lives and our marketing online, as well as our results and our success. And so with making just our recent results were $20,000 in 30 days. And that happened only by taking the risk that we did a few months ago. So type yes, or no, type me in the comment box if you are interested in learning more and if you want to know how to do this as well. And we'll see you in the next video.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.